What's up, everyone? You're here with Goran, and thank you for joining me here for your free picks for Saturday, February 10th. Well, guys, we have a very busy day ahead of us. I believe I have like 20, 21 free picks for you in this video. And of course, at the end of it, we have that parlay of the day for Saturday. It's a nice one, pays on at plus 355, a nice five-legger. Uh, we've won quite a few of those as of late, so let's keep that streak alive. For more free picks, of course, go up to the YouTube channel and check it out, guys. And for my best bet, simply click the link in the description of this video. That will get you up to my page where you can sign up, get a daily pass, 3-day pass, 7-day pass, or even a month-long pass if that's something you want to do. And those long-term passes are probably your best option right now because we are getting the Champions League back, Europa League, and the Conference League back as well next week. So there's going to be a huge amount of free picks and both premium picks over the next week or week and a half or so. As far as Saturday goes, guys, we have a lot of games. We have a very busy slate in the EPL, and potentially, I think we could see a lot of goals in the EPL. I like the matchups, and it should be a fun day kicking off at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That's the first game we are going to talk about, and it's between Manchester City and Everton. Uh, as we can see, Manchester City is a heavy favorite here, and they should be because they are on a 7, 8, 9 game winning streak right now. They haven't been conceding a lot of goals, but they are back to their old goal scoring form, and they have scored 7 goals in their last 3 games. They have scored 10 in their last four, 15 in their last five, and Holland is yet to get going since return. And I believe he will be in the starting lineup once again for this game. And I think he might get back into the goal scoring form just in time for that Champions League matchup they have against Copenhagen next week. As far as Everton goes, they have been known to score some goals against Manchester City in the past, whether they played at home or on the road. More so at home than on the road, but I think that they have been showing some decent form this season, some decent goal scoring capability, and I think that they might try and do something in this game. I don't expect a lot from them, to be honest, but I definitely think they could score they could create a few chances and get some shots on target or corner kicks, which is going to be my pick for this game. I'm going to take Everton over 2.5 corners, and that is at minus 125. For our next matchup, guys, we have Fulham hosting Bournemouth, and I gotta be honest, I haven't thought about this game for a long time. To be honest, I had a pick in my mind as soon as I saw the matchup, and that is gonna be both teams to score in over 2.5 at minus 105. Neither team can keep a clean sheet right now, especially Fulham, who hasn't won any of the last 6 games. While Bournemouth, as good as they have been this season, defensively they're not stable right now, and especially when playing on the road, they are conceding a lot of goals, but they are also scoring a lot. So both teams to score at over 2.5 at minus 105. Liverpool is hosting Burnley, and they will try to recover after that loss to Arsenal 3-1, and they definitely need a win to stay at the top of the table. As far as Burnley goes, they are very close to the bottom of the table. This is probably one of the last few games if they could get some points. They could get above the relegation zone, but it's not going to be an easy second half of the season to them. However, as bad as Burnley has been over the last, well, not over the last, pretty much for the entire season, uh, over the last few games, they have been scoring goals quite consistently. They have scored against Fulham, they've scored against Manchester City, they've scored against Luton Town as well. Tottenham kept a clean sheet against them, but I think that with this being such a big game, and because of the fact that Liverpool once again has a bit of a depth problem, uh, I could see Burnley scoring a goal here. So instead of siding with Liverpool and looking for some value somewhere else because they are such big favorites, I'm going to go with both teams to score in over 2.5, and that is at plus 110. Luton Town and Sheffield United is another matchup in the EPL that we have, and I honestly did not look past over 2.5. I'm gonna take over 2.5 goals at minus 133. Luton Town in excellent form right now, undefeated in their last that's what six games in a row, and they have scored a lot of goals over the last few weeks. They have scored two against Bolton, two against Everton, four against Brighton, and then four again against Newcastle. Sheffield United on the other side is conceding a lot. Yes, they haven't scored a goal against Aston Villa, but before that they were quite solid in the attacking end, and they have shown some signs of life in that attacking end as well. So over 2.5 at minus 133. I gotta be honest, that seems like a steal to me, and I will gladly take that pick any day of the week. Tottenham and Brighton is another interesting matchup in the EPL on Saturday, and I think this one's going to be highly exciting between two teams that are really struggling to keep a clean sheet right now. Two teams that are very shaky on that defensive end, but two teams that are more than capable of scoring goals, especially Tottenham. And I think that they might actually be getting Son back, even though he's listed still as absent because of the Asian Cup he was on. I believe he might get the last 10, 15 minutes if he's going to be in the lineup. If not, well, I guess there are a bunch of other players for Tottenham that can score goals. And for the first time this season, their injury list is not as long as it was. As far as Brighton injury list goes, they're missing Enciso, they're missing Solly March, Veltman is out as well, Mitoma is still out, although he might be back in the lineup after the Asian Cup games. But I think this is going to be a very fun game with not a lot of defense, but plenty of offense. So over 10.5 shots on target between both teams combined at minus 133. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see 7 or 8 shots in the first half alone, and I think that's going to be that type of a game. Wolverhampton is hosting Brentford, and they are looking to continue their nice and positive streak. They're coming off of a win against Chelsea 4-2. They basically destroyed Chelsea on the road. Now they will try to do the same to Brentford at home, who is trying to stay above the relegation zone. But Brentford has conceded 6 goals in their last 2 games. And yes, they have scored at least a goal in each of their last 7, 8 games in a row, but they have also conceded in each of those games. So over 2.5 has been the way to go with Brentford, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it here as well. It's minus 128. It's definitely worth a shot. I'm gonna go with over 2.5, minus 125. Possibly even both teams to score at over 2.5 could be the way to go for a nice plus money. The last game of the day in the EPL is between Nottingham Forest and Newcastle, and Newcastle when playing on the road, has scored 19 goals in those 11 games, but they have conceded 23 goals. Now, that's an average of over 2 conceded goals per game. And when we add the fact that Nottingham Forest has been in a great form as of late, they are slowly climbing the standings. They're getting further and further from the relegation zone, and the fact that they've scored 15 goals in 11 home games, which means that their home stadium, their home pitch, is the fortress for them, at least when it comes to scoring goals. I do expect goals in this game as well. Both teams are missing some players because of the injuries or suspensions and whatnot, and I still think that we have enough offense on both sides to see goals here. So both teams to score in over 2.5 at minus 105. That is going to be my pick for this one. And like I said, I do expect an entertaining day in the EPL, and I do expect goals in most of this matchup. So let's hope that comes true. Now we are off to Spanish La Liga, where we have Alaves hosting Villarreal in this next matchup, and I'm honestly, I don't know, I'm disappointed by Villarreal. They are coming off. They did come off a huge win against Barcelona 5-3, and then they weren't able to score a goal against Cadiz at home, which was highly disappointing. Alaves on the other side has lost to Barcelona 3-1 this past weekend, actually last weekend. But they have been quite consistent when it comes to scoring goals. And let's be honest, Villarreal on the road is not a good defensive team. They're conceding over 2 conceded goals per game, that is. But they are scoring goals as well. So in this one, both teams to score at minus 128. That is going to be my pick. Real Sociedad is hosting Osasuna, and Real Sociedad has been all over the place, I gotta admit, and they are now on a 3 game draw streak. However, 2 of those games were on the road, and all 3 of those games were a nil-nil draw. Now, defensively, they are solid. Offensively, not so much as consistent as they were. And on top of that, they're playing against PSG in the Champions League. So we might expect a little bit of a mixed lineup here. While Osasuna on the other side has to go for the win. They are now on a 2 game losing streak. They haven't scored a goal in those 2 games. And even though in their last game they were playing against Celta Vigo at home, not scoring a goal against a team like Celta Vigo was actually highly disappointing for me. And they will try to bounce back in this game. I'm gonna go with the draw in this one plus 225. Let's see if Real Sociedad is going to get a fourth draw in a row. If they get a win, fine. If we get a draw, it's gonna be for nice plus 225. But honestly, I wouldn't expect a highly entertaining game between these two teams. Real Madrid is hosting Girona in La Liga, and that potentially is the game of the season for both of these teams. Real Madrid at the top of the table with 58 points, Girona is second place with 56 points, but Girona is scoring an insane amount of goals when playing on the road. 22 goals in 11 games and still undefeated when playing on the road. As far as Real Madrid goes, when playing at home, they have scored 26 goals in 11 games, and they're basically goal scoring machines when playing at home. Still undefeated, of course, and only seven conceded goals. Now, this will be, I think, a highly volatile game. I see that the books are kind of expecting goals. It's minus 213 on over 2.5. But Girona is missing Herrera. They're missing Blind as well because of the suspensions. Eric Garcia is injured, and a bunch of other players are injured as well. And Dombik is still listed as questionable, but I think he will be in the starting lineup for this game. Now, potentially, this is a chance for Real Madrid to get to kind of gain some distance from Girona. The only problem I could see is the fact that they're playing in the Champions League next week against Leipzig. So we might expect some rotations here by Carlo Ancelotti to give a break to some of those starting players like Bellingham or maybe Vinicius and stuff like that. But we have two teams that are in excellent form. But I'm kind of hesitant to take the over 2.5, even though both teams are playing outstanding football at home and on the road. I decided to take over 5.5 cards at plus 107. I think that this could get a little bit rough. There's a lot at stake for both teams. And with that in mind, I think that we could see a bunch of falls in this one. In German Bundesliga, guys, we're going to kick it off with Union Berlin playing against Wolfsburg. And Union Berlin got a draw in their last game. They are slowly improving their form. It's gonna take a bit more time for them to get back on the winning track, but we know that Wolfsburg is struggling as well. Sure, they're undefeated in their last 5 games, but they haven't won any of their last 4 games, and they are having a lot of problems keeping a clean sheet. As a matter of fact, they haven't done it in their last 6 games, and neither did Union Berlin. So I'm gonna go with both teams to score at minus 125. Borussia Mönchengladbach is hosting Darmstadt, and we know that Darmstadt is not a good team. They're at the bottom of the table without a win in their last 14 games. Only one win on the road so far this season. And I know that Borussia Mönchengladbach hasn't won any of their last 3 games, but at home they are quite a solid offensive team and they can score a lot of goals. They have scored 17 in those 10 games they played, but they have also conceded a lot of goals, 15 in those 10 games. Uh, I think this is going to be a fairly open matchup where Borussia Mönchengladbach will go for the win. They simply have to go for the win, and for that reason, I do expect them to attack from the beginning of the game, and that should give us over 4.5 corners in the first half at minus 125, and that is going to be my pick for this game. Eintracht will be looking for a win against Bochum, who is actually playing pretty well right now, even though they haven't won any of their last 2 games. Bochum at home and Bochum on the road are two different teams. And when playing on the road, Bochum has scored only 7 goals, conceded 27. And this is a game that Eintracht simply has to win. They're one of the best home teams in the league with only 8 conceded goals in 9 games. And they're averaging almost 2 scored goals per game, and they're coming off of a disappointing loss against Cologne on the road. It ended up in a 2-0 win for Cologne. We are getting Eintracht at minus 133, and I will take that price any day of the week on the better team at home and on the better team overall. So I'm taking Eintracht on the money line. Augsburg and Leipzig is another matchup in Bundesliga, and I'm going to keep this one very simple as well. Leipzig is finally back on the winning track. They beat Union Berlin 2-0 this midweek. And I know that they're playing in the Champions League next week, but they need a win to keep their good form alive. So I'm going to take Leipzig on the money line. With all due respect to Augsburg, I think they have been solid this season so far, but I think that Leipzig will go on a nice positive streak right now. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they snag a draw or maybe even a kind of narrow win against Real Madrid in the Champions League next week. So Augsburg versus Leipzig, I'm taking Leipzig on the money line. Werder Bremen is hosting Heidenheim in another matchup in Bundesliga, and they're now actually on a three-game winning streak while being undefeated in their last four games. And not only that, Werder really stepped up defensively with two clean sheets in their last three games while conceding only one goal, and that was against Freiburg. While Heidenheim on the other side is on a four-game draw streak, but they're actually undefeated in their last six games. Now, Heidenheim is doing a decent job overall this season, but when playing on the road, they're averaging two conceded goals per game while scoring only one. And I am slowly leaning towards Werder Bremen at home, but I will go with both teams to score because I think that Heidenheim could definitely do something in this game, and Werder Bremen is overperforming a little bit on that defensive end, in my opinion. So instead of choosing the sides, I'm gonna go with both teams to score. And the final game of the day in Bundesliga is a big one between Bayer Leverkusen and Bayern Munich. The game that could potentially decide the champion of Bundesliga for this season. Under Xabi Alonso, Bayer Leverkusen still hasn't lost a game. They have won a bunch. They have a couple of draws or so. And in the reverse picture of this matchup, at the beginning of the season in round four, that is, they got a 2-2 draw against Bayern Munich on the road. Bayern Munich is also back to their old goal scoring ways. They have scored six goals in their last two games. However, defensively, they are very volatile. And because of the fact that Leverkusen has so much offense and they're in such a great form, I think that Leverkusen could do something in this game. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be an entertaining matchup with a lot at stake. And I think for the first time in a long time, Leverkusen feels like they could beat Bayern Munich at home. So over 1.5 goals in the first half at plus 125. That's gonna be my pick for this one. I don't think we'll see much defense between these two teams, and with that in mind, I think we're gonna see some goals and a highly entertaining game. So, Leverkusen versus Bayern Munich, over 1.5 goals in the first half. In the Italian Serie A, guys, we have Cagliari playing against Lazio, and I'm gonna keep this one very, very simple. The books are giving us over 2.5 at plus 130. And Cagliari is very good at scoring goals right now, not as good when it comes to defending. And let's be honest, Lazio is not too far from that. They haven't beaten anyone in their last three games. They have scored only one goal in their last three games, and they're due for a nice performance. And because of the fact that Cagliari is not a good defensive team, I could see some goals in this one. So I'm gonna take over 2.5 at plus 130. If we end up losing this pick, I will not be sorry because the price is definitely too good to 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 kind of pass it up. So Cagliari versus Lazio, over 2.5 goals. Roma and Inter is the biggest game of the day in the Italian Serie A, and this is the first true test for Daniele De Rossi, who is the new head coach for Roma. They have won their last four games in a row. However, they played against Verona. They played against Al Shabab in a friendly game. They have beaten Salernitana 2-1 on the road, and they have beaten Cagliari 4-0. Now, don't get me wrong. This outstanding streak is very important for their form. They are playing in the Europa League next week on Thursday against Feyenoord. But Inter on the other side is on a six-game winning streak right now. During this six-game winning streak, they have kept four clean sheets, and those were their last four games. Now, definitely that defense is gonna let go sooner rather than later. But unfortunate news for Roma is that Inter is not playing in the Champions League next week. They will play in the week after. And I think that Inter definitely feels like they could get a win out of this game. But I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to get a little bit rough. And this is why I decided to go with Roma team total over 2.5 cards at minus 125. I think that Roma will be the team that's going to be focused a little bit more on defending. And I think that they will be forced to kind of resort to some fouls to maybe try and stop Inter in this game. So Roma over 2.5 cards at minus 125. In the French League One, guys, we have a couple of games to talk about, and the first one is between PSG and Lille. I decided to keep it quite simple, guys. Both teams are playing in a pretty good form. Lille ended up losing to Lyon in the French Cup earlier this week, but when it comes to this matchup, they have scored at least a goal in each of their last one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 games against PSG, whether they played at home on the road. And we know that PSG is a very sloppy team when it comes to defending. They have some injured players, which will definitely reduce their depth. And they're also playing in the Champions League next week against Real Sociedad, so they might be a little bit more focused on that than this game against Lille. Both teams to score at minus 139. I'm gonna take that, and I honestly wouldn't blame you if you took over 2.5 as well. But I'm gonna stay a bit more conservative, and I'm gonna take just both teams to score. And the last pick of this video before we move on to the parlay, we have Lens playing against Strasbourg. And I decided to keep this one very, very simple as well. I'm going to take Lens on the money line at minus 154. They are on a two-game winning streak. They are playing in the Europa League, but that game is on Thursday. They will have plenty of time to rest. The more important thing right now is to keep their form alive, to keep the winning streak alive. And even though Strasbourg is on a solid run, they have lost only one of their last six games. Uh, I think that Lens will get this one, and I think that they will come out on top, especially because Strasbourg is missing like five or six players, some of which would definitely be in the starting lineup if they were healthy. So, Lens on the money line at minus 154. And now, guys, to finish up this video, parlay of the day, nice five-legger. Luton versus Sheffield over 1.5 goals. Fulham versus Bournemouth over 1.5 goals. Borussia Mönchengladbach and Darmstadt over 2.5 goals. Harry Kane to have over 3.5 shots in the game. So not just shots on target, shots overall. Uh, Actually, that is Harry Kane, 3+ shots overall in this game. And PSG versus Lille over 1.5 goals. It pays on at plus 355, guys. I'm assuming that all of the books now have player shots and player shots on target. So see if you have one or the other. I also think that Harry Kane is going to get at least 2 shots on target as well. So if you don't have shots overall, I would go with that as well. So Luton versus Sheffield over 1.5 goals. Fulham versus Bournemouth over 1.5 goals. Borussia Mönchengladbach versus Darmstadt over 2.5 goals. Harry Kane 3+ shots, and PSG versus Lille over 1.5 goals. That's it, everyone. It's a busy Saturday. I hope you have a nice betting day. Good luck with all of your bets. Have a nice day overall, and stay tuned for more free picks coming up soon.